all afternoon,
Yeah.
and I was sweating like I got real sweaty. But notice I at least
Kevin, all right. Boom. Oh, I had a cord in the way. Boom, boom. Call this meeting to order. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Alvarez,
Here.
Councilmember Clark,
Here.
Councilmember Todd,
Here.
Councilmember Saper.
Here.
Councilmember McGrone,
Here.
Councilmember Smith,
Here.
Councilmember Fitzgerald.
Here.
Thank you. This evening, the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Councilmember Alvarez.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, next item is the approval of the agenda. Hang tight. Was there one I was going to ask? No, there wasn't. All right, is there a motion to approve the agenda? Is
Move to approve.
there a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, say no. Motion carries. Next item, comments from the public. Anyone from the public wishing to speak this evening, please step up to the podium. And there is none. There we go. Item number 6, city alcohol license limits. And I'm going to kick this to somebody, anybody. I'm about to call him Kim on default here. Kev,
I
Chief
got it.
Freeman,
I'll
Chief
take
Freeman,
it.
there we go.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. As an item of discussion tonight, we wanted to speak to you about the city liquor license limits that are in place right now. As you know, historically, we've been trending at least to eliminate many of our 3 o'clock licenses, the 3 a.m. special permits. We don't feel like that's good for business, good for the citizens of North Kansas City to continue those. So as those have been vacated, we've asked you guys to reduce that number down so it can't, so a new business can't come in and pick that up. We do have a situation now that renewals are finished, that there has been one more vacation. So we currently sit at 3 authorized. There's been 2 that have been renewed, so we would like to explore the possibility of vacating that one down and bringing it down to 2. And then aside from that, we also have 2 different classes that are kind of getting close to capacity, the restaurant bar licenses and the tavern licenses. And I've outlined that in the memo. The only thing that has changed since renewals have been completed is there are the tavern license, there's 16 currently renewed or in the process of renewal out of the 18 available. And then the restaurant bar has 18 out of the 22. And then there may be 1 or 2 more that may fall off of that. We believe that one of those is out of business permanently, and there's another one possibly that's out of business. So there may be a little bit more room in there than what we talked about when we presented the memo. But more than anything, we wanted to get council direction on how you want to proceed with these limitations. Do we want to keep them as is? Do we want to increase them? If we do want to increase them, to what level? And then I think at that point, once we get some consensus from you guys, we'll come back with the ordinance changes if needed. And also with me tonight is my former boss and current director of liquor control, Steve Beamer, to answer any questions that you guys might have on the topic as well.
All right. So I would be in favor of increasing the numbers a little bit on each one. I don't know. I don't know what limit you would consider fine. It kind of seems arbitrary. But the 3 a.m. I'd also be fine with taking that down to 2 as well. What other comments? Councilmember Smith, Councilmember Alvarez.
So zooming out a little bit, I'm trying to understand the process because I've not been involved in approving the increases at this point. So say we got to 18 of 18 for the tavern licenses and somebody wanted to open one that would qualify. What would the process be if we were capped? Would it go to liquor control for a yes or no and then to council, or how would that look?
No, sir. It has to come back to council. All limits are currently set by ordinance, and those numbers were established by a council several years ago now. We have not adjusted these numbers for some time, with the exception of the 3 a.m. licenses that we have removed as those licensees that held those have closed or chosen to surrender them. So if we reach capacity on the tavern, which is currently at 18, If we ended up getting 2 or 3 more applicants, then we would have to come back to council at that time to increase that from 18 to a number that you determined. If you choose to make a decision tonight on that, then Mr. Barzee could go ahead and draft the ordinance to make that adjustment at the same time he made the adjustment on reducing the 3 a.m. licenses from 3 to 2. For the restaurant bar, it's the same process.
Effectively, say we set it out to, I don't know, 25. If a 21st applicant comes in and asks for a license, does that go to liquor control for a yes or no, or does it still come to council for approval?
If the applicant applies for a license and there is still slots available in that category of license, then it would simply be a matter of liquor control doing our due diligence to make sure that they've checked all the boxes and that they are an appropriate business, and then we would sign off on the issue of that license to them.
Okay. And then last question on this line, I guess, is what purpose in your mind? I understand the 3 a.m. license; those are pretty specific. But beyond that, the tavern and restaurant and the package licensing, what benefit does setting an upper bound have for the city? If the liquor control board can look and say this makes sense or doesn't, why would we set an upper boundary?
If you don't set an upper boundary, then the number of licenses are virtually unlimited in the city. And I think that is something that you have to be thoughtful about the impact to the overall community. If you could literally have a bar on every corner if there is not some type of a cap established by the council.
I got you.
And I think you have to balance it in terms of quality of life, public health, safety, welfare. How many bars do you want in town? And while I don't anticipate that there's going to be a dozen new establishments come in, we don't know that. Sure. And so I think it's prudent to maintain a cap on it. If we hit that cap 2 or 3 years down the road because we have had an influx of new businesses that have liquor by the drink licenses, the council could revisit it at that point in time and decide if you wanted to bump it up again.
I would say I do think we're a good place where you just kind of bring it back when there's still a little bit of buffer. We're getting close, but we're not maxed out yet.
Correct.
That way council can kind of feel, what is going on in the community? Is this appropriate to increase this? Councilmember Alvarez and then Councilmember Clark.
Yeah, for the current ones that we have, I think that they're fine. I wouldn't really want to take anything away, any of the businesses away with the liquor license. But as far as the 3 a.m. license, I would like to see that when those bars, I guess, get to the end of their business, to have those fade out. I know that it seemed to cause a lot of problems back in the time when I was at the police department at the 3 a.m. We had a lot of people coming from Kansas City, had already hit the bars from there, and then so they would come to North Kansas City to finish up. And sometimes it created a lot of hassle, and it was, I think, a burden on the police department because then you got an overflow of Kansas City people coming in. And I would like to see the 3 a.m. faded out at the end of their permit. So.
Councilmember Clark.
Yeah, I think I was curious if there was any sort of like data or ratio associated with how many licenses. Then we need to think about how many officers should be available, per shift. If we have, say, an influx of licenses or, kind of planning around like how would that affect overall, say if there were 30, I guess, or I don't know, in planning around that. Is there sort of a measure that's taken, to kind of plan for that?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
I mean, I could look into it to see if there's any national standard on a ratio or anything like that, but it's no different than, we police for a city of 4,500, but in reality, we're policing for a city of 25 to 30,000. That same kind of deal goes on for nighttime operations as well. We account for that increase in population currently already. So, but yeah, if it was 30 more establishments that are serving booze and it's turning into Lower Broadway at Nashville or something like that, yeah, we would have to reassess that at some point. I think we'd all be happy about that, right?
No. And quite frankly, a lot of it has to do with the type of establishment, too. If you've got somebody that opens up a small bar and grill or just a small bar that has a capacity of 30 or 40 people, the impact may not be that great as long as that bar is run appropriately and they are responsible with their service and things like that. However, if you had another large, I'm going to use Denim and Diamonds because it was a huge country and western bar that could handle 300 people, and the impact that that would have on public safety is much greater. So you can't necessarily, if a license is available, you can't pick and choose necessarily who applies for it and how large of a venue they're going to have. So it's hard to predict what the impact is going to be on public safety.
What's full, oh, sorry, is that it? What is full original package sales? Does that include like Quick Trips, gas stations, convenience stores, all that sort of thing?
Correct.
Okay, perfect. Councilmember Smith.
So thinking on these numbers, we're at, according to Chief, the numbers are a little different where you gave us. So 16 of 18 for tavern, 18 of 22 for restaurant. Restaurant being 50% of sales coming from food, at least 50%. I know we want to encourage restaurants coming in and being close to that cap. I would say that seems like a no-brainer to elevate that, especially given that we have some potential redevelopment area just out here that could be looked at for those sorts of establishments. So I would be very much in favor of bumping that, say, to 30 and seeing where we go. And then on the by the drink, we're looking at just bars and breweries and stuff like that. Also, I happen to be a fan of these kind of places, but I would be open to discussion. I think we could go from, say, 18 to 25 on that.
Councilmember Alvarez.
I just want to comment, I have talked to a lot of my neighbors, not just what I want, but what the neighbors are saying, and they have made comments that we keep going and increasing some of the small bars, we're going to end up, they've referred to us, North Kansas City, as the small Westport, and I don't think we want to be known for that. If more development comes down the road, then I think maybe that's a time to revisit it, but where we're at right now, I don't want to be a city that's just has a bar on every other corner. We don't have a lot of entertainment in our city right now, other than there's a few places, but most of them are restaurants and bars. And I don't want to be, I don't think our city should be known for just the restaurants and bars. So,
Thank you. Well, now we got hands. Councilmember Saper.
Yeah, I sort of support what Councilman Alvarez said in terms of what that would mean is we would eliminate the 3 a.m. one and bring it down to 2.
Correct.
And leave the others where they are until such time as we feel the pressure from a lot of businesses who come here, and then we can revisit it at any time. So other than reducing it from 3 to 2 for the 3 a.m. licenses, there is still some room in there for the others, and just leave it as it is then, except for the 3 a.m.
And I would offer, once again, if we hit limits, we can come back to council, advise you that we've maxed out. If there's someone who's interested in obtaining a license, we can tell them that we've capped out and that we would be coming to council for your consideration if you wanted to increase that or not. So this isn't something that is locked in permanently. It is a moving number that you can adjust as you see fit.
It also creates a streamlined process if we already have a kind of a top line number, and then you're just able to go out and say yes or no, because then you'd have the authority to go ahead and issue it. Councilmember Brown, and then we'll go to Councilmember Todd.
I just want to comment on what Councilmember Alvarez mentioned about how some people are mentioning that perhaps Northtown is becoming a little Westport, and I hear comments in the opposite direction. I hear that some of my friends and people that I know have moved here specifically because there are things for younger people to do, and I'm not a younger person, and there are things for me to do too. And Councilmember Smith mentioned that we go to the breweries, or we'll go to Michi Amaro or some of the other places around town. It really is a matter of what the business is and the types of people who go to those businesses, and it's not, I don't think that we should limit the number of licenses that we offer because we're afraid that it's going to turn into a place that I don't think it's going to turn into. I would be in favor of increasing the retail by sales by drink and the retail sales by drink with food sales licenses, at least to the numbers that Councilmember Smith mentioned, 25 for the tavern and 30 for the restaurant. What I think that does is it sends a message to potential restaurant and bar operators that we have, that we want to have more options for people in the, not just North Kansas City, but in the Northland, and that we're kind of friendly to allowing them to come and explore here in North Kansas City.
Thank you, Councilmember Todd.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out too that, well, first I'll just say I am in favor of increasing both restaurant and tavern by a small amount. But I want to point out that the development isn't just tied to kind of the area that like I can walk to over in Ward 1 when I think about Armour and all of that area, but also the area that is kind of across the highway there. And when we think about people who are living in Ward 4, and when we think about all of the apartment buildings that are now over there, I also want people to have as easily accessible access to restaurants and bars as what I feel like I have over in Ward 1. And so just when I think about, how easy that is for me to just walk down the street and go to Screenland or go to Restless Spirits or go to Chicken and Pickle, I would love to have the ability for people over in Ward 4 or for people over in those apartments to do the same thing. And so I do agree that increasing that number by a small amount, and I think that, 25 and 30, I don't think that that's increasing by an amount that would overcrowd the existing development, but still allow some movement within our new development areas. So that's just my 2 cents.
Thank you. So a question for the chief. Are we having significant problems around any establishments under these licenses?
No.
Okay.
No, looking at the list now, some of these, honestly, I didn't even know they had a liquor license, to be honest with you. But no, it's, the day has gone by for now of problem establishments in North Kansas City. Now, that could always return, like Mr. Beamer said, if you have an irresponsible owner not taking care of the problems as they arise. We had a couple of those, 2 or 3.
When I took over the mayor's desk, there was a stack about that thick of police reports from 2 or 3 of them, I'll say.
They're gone. They're gone
they're
now.
no longer, yes, here.
And to Councilmember Clark's points, like, we do not spend a lot of time at the restaurants and bars at closing time right now, so that's a good thing.
Yeah.
They are responsible business owners right now.
Well, I saw your hand, I wasn't sure if that was it. No, there we go.
Yeah, I haven't chimed in yet, just to add my 2 cents. Really nothing new here, but I'd also be in favor of continuing to drop down that 3 a.m. number as those establishments roll off. And to me, a moderate increase in the number of licenses sounds reasonable. I'd want to avoid a situation where potential, new development wants to put money into our community and they feel like there's red tape they have to go through, more than necessary at least to get to that.
All right, do you want to propose 25 and 30 then, and roll with that? And take a quick, if you just want to, you can throw it out as a quick motion. We'll just take
Sure.
a quick voice vote and see where we go.
We'll make a little informal motion to move the tavern licenses from 18 to 25 and the restaurant bar to 30.
Second.
Okay, now I better make sure in case anyone else has anything else. Okay, all those in favor? I guess it's really direction to staff to update these and bring them back next meeting. Oh, 3 a.m. license.
Do we also need to,
Yeah, just throw it out, yeah.
Nice if you just included that with it.
There we go.
yeah, and to drop the 3 a.m. licenses from 3 to 2.
Second.
We gotta work on our Robert's rules around here a little bit.
Well, this isn't, this is a
It's
discussion
super
item,
modified.
so this is just direction to staff.
Well, discussion items, still a regular item. Yeah, okay. All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, say no. No. 2 noes, motion passes. We'll see this again here in a couple weeks,
All right.
I think.
Thank you very much.
Taxi cab license. It's good and clear, too. Taxi cab license. Chief, I don't know. Who's
That's-
handling this one?
That's me again.
Hi. Welcome back.
Get a full load of Chief Freeman tonight. Yep. So in exploring our ordinances and things that we do from time to time, we've realized that the Chapter 5.44 of the municipal code that regulates taxi cabs, taxi drivers, taxi permits, inspection of taxis, making sure that taxi drivers are submitting health certificates, all these things that was part of, in my opinion, an antiquated system now in today's era of Uber, Lyft, all the whatever, insert rideshare name here. So we're holding taxi drivers, the point of this discussion is we're holding taxi drivers and taxi operators to standards that we're not holding other rideshare services to. So we've kind of created an unfair playing field, although be it like very minimal, because as you see in the memo, we just don't have that many taxi licenses and taxi permits that come across our desk annually. Three in the last 3 years, I think is what 3 in the last 5 years maybe. So a total of like $90 in revenue to the permit side, and then obviously we do require the honest taxi operators out there to get a business license, and the city hall has processed 3 of those in the last about 3 a year is what they tell us. So not significant amount of revenue, a little bit of an unfair playing field to the taxi operators and taxi drivers as compared to the Uber and Lyft services. So it is our recommendation that the discussion would be to eliminate this entire section of the municipal code and level that playing field.
I was saying, are we having any problems with taxi cab drivers?
We are
Just free
not.
Okay.
No.
There we go.
But in the day we were, like there was a time and place
Yeah.
that taxi operators were calling and tattling on people that person doesn't have a permit, they don't have their sticker.
Now we're
and
back to the
we would
original
have to
3
deal
here.
with that, yeah. Harrah's.
There. Councilmember Smith.
So I'm almost always for rolling back this kind of stuff and leveling the playing field. The only question I would have is I understand that Uber, Lyft, and name your rideshare service of choice, they have some sort of screening process for their drivers to ensure a level of safety. If we roll this out or roll this back, is there no check on who's driving a taxi?
No, sir, there would not be.
That would be my only holdup, is that if people don't have any hoop to jump through to get their taxi license, then anybody could throw the word taxi on top of their car and start picking people up to take them to who knows where. So I do favor some sort of check on who's doing that, even if it's 3 people. And if there's staff time dedicated to that, then charging the amount that would be fair. That would be my only reason to keep it in place.
Okay, further councilmember comments?
Just on your point, Jesse, I was just thinking, the process now, when a cab driver applies for the license, like, what does that process look like? What, is there any background check, or I'm not sure what's involved and what's not?
There is. It's pretty lengthy, and it's laid out in the code. Like I said, there is even as far as like a health certificate they have to provide, and a lot of little hoops that they have to jump through, and a limited amount of background check, a driver's check, obviously. So those things will occur. Certainly not opposed to continuing to do that. Again, it's going to be with the situation of we're going to focus on a very small amount of people that actually do this type of business anymore. And I certainly understand Councilmember Smith's point, and it's a valid point, that at least there is a level of check, maybe. I don't know what other cities are doing on this. I didn't do that research on that, so I couldn't comment to that. But there's some level of checking and staff time that occurs when someone actually says, I want to do the right thing, and I'm going to go get my taxi permit from North Kansas City.
All 3 of them.
Right.
You get a rush at the window up there?
Yeah, it's tough.
Councilmember Saper.
This discussion certainly begs the question about Uber and the others, in which there is no real background check that we know of. They may do their internal ones, for whatever reasons they do them, but we don't have any leverage or checks on them. And maybe we need to look at that. Do we need to actually consider some kind of rules or regulations regarding those rideshare services?
See what happens when you bring these things up. No, okay, okay. Was that Councilmember Clark?
No, to your point, Uber, Lyft, places like that, you do have to pass a background check. There is an extensive, you have to show you have updated, I'm signed up for Lyft. I've never used it, but I was like, you never know. But there's extensive things. You have to update all your documents. You always have to have your new tags uploaded. You have to have everything uploaded that's current. They let you know when you're about to expire. And that's kind of the extension of liability falls on them as a company versus our police department. So I do appreciate that there is something in place so there isn't somebody that's slapping something on their car because, I mean, we got World Cup coming in, things coming in the future and busyness, hopefully, right? And hopefully more people visiting our city because we want that money. That I think it's for safety, because definitely like Lyft came about because Uber didn't feel as safe, but everything is tracked, through the app when those individuals and addresses are erased and things like that where that doesn't necessarily exist. I would imagine it'd be really hard to be a taxi driver without some sort of app and then hoping you can just trust to wave down a dark car with like a cardboard box on top that says taxi. I don't know. But yeah, I'm in favor, all that to be said, I'm in favor of keeping that registration, even if it's 3, because it may be more.
Did you? No, done? No? Councilmember Smith.
So I do want to thank you for digging through the code to find stuff that we could chop out. I will admit I did not read through the nuts and bolts of how it's all processed in the code, but if you find things in there that seem antiquated or redundant or useless, bring that forward as a proposal to chop those out, but still some basic stuff. Streamline it.
Yeah, sure.
We may just increase it. Dangerous game. No further council direction here? Nope. All right. Then we'll go to the next item, which now I flip to my agenda, would be the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor, please say yes.
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 Any opposed, say no. Motion carries. That takes us to item number 12. Oh, please.
Consideration of a resolution approving renewal of trash contract, third renewal, resolution number 24-036.
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, any further comment? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, say no. Motion carries. Next item, 13.
Consideration of an ordinance to restrict on-street parking to 15 minutes on the west side of Swift Street immediately south of 18th Avenue. Bill number 7858, ordinance number 9655.
Perfect. So at the last meeting, McLean's Bakery is going to be coming in town, which we're all very excited about, and they had asked for us to consider a couple spaces in the downtown area. So I had this ordinance brought forward to consider this. Overall, I think this is a good thing. I think it matches many of the visions in our master plan as well, including growing and attracting business opportunities, create jobs, support local economy, increase tax base. It'll help turn over the area on parking because they're going to have a lot of turnover in that area. So I think it will help reduce congestion by having specifically parking right in front of their business because they are going to be a quick in and out. And so just overall, I think this is positive for economic development and economic vitality. So with that, further councilmember comments, and the requester is also here as well if they wanted to speak. Councilmember Groen, then Smith.
I am in favor of this. I think that the number of spaces isn't excessive. I don't think 5 is too many. I think because it's not McLean specific and it is saying it's 15-minute parking, that would benefit places like the nutrition shop across the street, the tailor shop, the FM music, somebody running into El Canelo and grabbing a lunch to go. It's not just aimed at McLean's, and it's only from 7 a.m. until 2 p.m., so it's not all day long, it's not all evening. I think that the boundaries that are presented here are very reasonable, and I think it's really going to encourage people to come to McLean's, run in, grab a muffin, and leave, and then that will continue to help, kind of turn over not just their own business, but then the other businesses around the area.
Thank you, Councilmember Smith.
So first off, I am excited that McLean's is coming, and I certainly understand the ask. With that said, I do worry that this kind of opens up a can of worms in that area, that actually the can's wide open by now. Parking in this specific district is pretty limited, and we've got it set to 2 hours now. There are 2-hour spaces, and I know why McLean's asked. They do have the to-go pickups that pop in, pop out, but putting these at 15-minute intervals locks out any of the businesses. Now, you cited a great number of businesses, but it also locks out the businesses that need that parking for longer. And I've spoken at least a dozen times with folks from Jeff LaFurla's Vision Institute across the street. They've had construction has been reserving those spaces, so they're struggling to have people come in and park. I just worry that if we allow this, which is it's a very specific benefit to McLean's. The other ancillary, if somebody's going to come grab a to-go from El Canelo, that they could use this. But these are the direct frontage, the most prime street parking spaces in our city right now. As an offer, I think there's a giant parking lot that we just built directly adjacent to this building, and we could hold 5 spaces in that lot as close to McLean's as possible at 15-minute intervals and you could even mark them for to-go, I don't know. But I do worry that this kind of creates a bad precedent. So if another business comes and says, we would love to have a 30-minute space in front of ours for our customers to use, and then we've done it for one, it's hard to say no to the next. So that's my thought on it. And I would also like to ask Chief Freeman, you've interacted with folks in the area on parking a number of times. What are your thoughts on what this looks like?
Well, thank you. You make a lot of good points. We look at this from a logistical standpoint, and we believe that a 15-minute parking window is logistically difficult for us to enforce consistently. Okay, and I look at it like, okay, someone would have to be there when a car pulls in and start a stopwatch and then wait for it to hit 15 minutes, and that's very staff intensive to try to do something like that. And as you know, we have one part-time parking control officer in the city right now. Obviously, we could increase that. We can increase their hours, make them full-time, add another one. There's a lot of solutions there. But logistically, it would be difficult. And then, also look at it from, a lot of what-ifs. So we look at it from, so if there's a car parked there, say someone parked overnight that was a resident of the apartment complex, which they're allowed to do because that's outside of the 2-hour window, but they're there at 7 a.m. still. The 2-hour parking doesn't start until 8, so then we're getting a complaint, so then we respond to the complaint. We start that 15-minute window there. That means now, are we going to be able to get back in 15 minutes within that window to enforce it? So there's a lot of logistical concerns that I have from a policing and enforcement perspective for anything less than 2 hours. Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Councilmember Groen.
I absolutely understand and respect the challenges regarding enforcement of something like this. I think when you implement something that says 15-minute parking, it's more like people like me that are going to run in and grab it and not leave my car parked for an hour. It's a suggestion to people that we would like for you to not do this thing, and please don't, and most reasonable people are not going to abuse it. I think that, as far as the can of worms that Councilmember Smith mentioned regarding other businesses that might want this parking, again, this is not McLean specific. This is just saying this is 15-minute parking in this area. It happens to be in front of McLean's. If another business wanted some dedicated or some short-term parking in front of their business, let's say Taze over on Armour wanted a 30-minute parking space, again, that wouldn't be Taze specific. They could come to council, they could make an ask, and it would be a 30-minute spot for that stretch, not that business. So I still think it's a good thing to do. I think it's going to really encourage people to try to, run in and move quickly, and then it will open up those spots to other people who want to run in and move quickly.
Thank you. I'll chime in real quick again. And I'm open to considering things by request. Matter of fact, I would encourage businesses and folks to come in and do it. We want the parking to match the nearby use. That's a big aspect of economic development and as well as, turnover of those parking spaces. And if you look over the history of town, I got in trouble the other day at the Gardens because I don't always talk into the mic, so I got to make sure I'm good. We've had 15-minute parking, 30-minute parking, hour parking, 2-hour parking, no parking except on Sundays. We've had a smorgasbord of all the above all over town. And a lot of that, again, has just been adapting to the nearby use. If you take a look outside the little store right now, they have 30-minute parking outside the little store. So they have one for them. I think it would be good, and this would be McLean's business decision, but to encourage the longer-term parkers to probably end up in that back parking lot. But keep those spaces right in front of it open seems to be good for the city and good for business as well. There we go, Councilmember Clark.
I appreciate, the points made. I just can't, I don't know, I do see that it does positively affect a lot of the businesses there. I remember the smoothie joint was asking us for the 15-minute parking, and it's very beneficial for them to have an in and out and not have somebody left over in the spaces overnight. So I just feel like with the economic impact, it's kind of worth a shot. We've got DoorDashers going in and out of there, all sorts of different companies that kind of go in and out to grab McLean's, grab certain areas, and that would, I think, open up opportunities for, heck, even for the record store. Wouldn't that be cool if you could just order a record DoorDash style? Just look, pick up that Doors record. I don't know. Anyway, that's my thought.
Thank you. I was told us getting ready to go to order. We have Councilmember Saper.
Yeah, I tend to think, I agree with some of the comments made before, that it's sort of self-policing for a 15-minute window. Some might be there for 10, some might be there for, 21 minutes even. But basically, it's going to be self-policing. And sometimes we look for problems where there aren't any. And doing this, if it becomes a problem, we can always change it. But at this point, I see no real issue with not doing it and moving ahead with it.
Okay, Councilmember Alvarez, and we'll go Councilmember Fitzgerald.
I would like to agree. I think we should at least maybe give it a shot, see how it works. She said, it's kind of more on the honor system. If you see the 15-minute parking, it's kind of like, you should be out of there in approximately 15 minutes. At least try to be. If it creates a huge problem, people are calling in on each other all the time, or it's a big complaint, or I don't know, people abuse it, then maybe take another look at it and decide that maybe it's not working out. But I think it would at least be worth a shot, and it's for the other businesses too, to have a place they can go and just run in and out. So,
Thank you, Councilmember. I can't talk. Councilmember Fitzgerald.
I'd also be in favor of, I guess I'd be voting yes to give this a shot on the 15 minutes, being that they're not spots specifically for McLean's. They're, public spots. We're just changing the time limit, and there is a precedent of doing that for other businesses around town. I think, if I'm correct, we also have a parking study coming up, which might, if I'm correct, will that shed, do we have one coming up? And I wasn't sure if it would shed any light on, parking times and where we have capacity issues and that type of thing, but.
We have originally budgeted a parking study for this fiscal year. However, with the consideration of the budget along the way, we have decided to consolidate that with our comprehensive plan update for this upcoming 2025 fiscal year. So we will take a look at the parking in relation to the current and future land use for its demand and its existing condition. So you'll probably get some updates in 2025 after we are done with the master plan update. Not right now.
Yeah, so I guess we'll have some additional insight on that from the parking study a little ways down the road to, see recommendations from that on time, but I'd be in favor of at least giving this a shot and see if it, creates or doesn't create issues.
Thank you. Councilmember Smith.
So I'm curious, why not the parking lot that we built with 300+ spaces rather, okay, I'm getting a no from Tom. That's why. The other part is I would encourage you to, I understand McLean's is a very exciting, new, customer-facing business, but I would wonder if anyone's spoken to the other businesses in that corridor. I'll point back to Jeff LaFurla's Vision Institute. They're not a place that you think of as exciting, but it's a service that people need. And I have gotten probably a call or an email at least once a week since construction's been ongoing saying, our people just can't find parking on the street, because we've had construction vehicles dedicated to 5 spaces across. And my message to them perpetually until last week was, when they're done, those spaces will open back up and your customers can park there again, but just hang with us until, and now they're not going to have them at all, because you can't get an eye appointment done in under 15 minutes. So it's those sorts of frustrations, and it is going to cause some trouble and some stress, but it feels like we're prioritizing one private business over another, and I just don't like taking that tack. I do understand the economic benefit of it and why folks favor it, though.
Thank you. Is there a motion? Or is further comments? No? No? Is there a motion?
First reading.
Second.
All in favor, please say yes.
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 Any opposed, say no.
No.
Motion carries.
An ordinance restricting on-street parking to 15 minutes on the west side of Swift Street immediately south of 18th Avenue, a distance of 126 feet in the city of North Kansas City, Missouri, and directing the erection of appropriate signage limiting the parking of motor vehicles to 15 minutes at said location.
I move that bill number 7858 be placed on second and final reading and pass as ordinance number 9655.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Alvarez?
Yes.
Councilmember Clark?
Yes.
Councilmember Todd?
Yes.
Councilmember Saper?
Yes.
Councilmember McGrone?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
No.
Councilmember Fitzgerald.
Yes.
An ordinance restricting on-street parking to 15 minutes on the west side of Swift Street immediately south of 18th Avenue, a distance of 126 feet in the city of North Kansas City, Missouri, and directing the erection of appropriate signage limiting the parking of motor vehicles to 15 minutes at said location.
Item 14, please.
Consideration of an ordinance to approve River Forest Park lot consolidation. Bill number 7859, ordinance number 9656.
This one, all
All right.
right. Please.
This ordinance in front of you is a final plat that requested by the city to consolidate a few parcels in the vacated street. If you remember, back in April, we have passed an ordinance to vacate some paper streets where the future River Forest Park will be located at. So this ordinance is to consolidate all those parcels that was originally platted along with the vacated streets. So there will be one parcel as required by the ordinance to move forward with this construction plan.
First reading.
Second.
All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries.
An ordinance approving the final plat of North River Forest Park, a subdivision to consolidate lots 17 to 29, Block 11, lots 19 to 21, Block 12, lots 1 to 5, and lots 16 to 26, Block 16, lots 1 to 6, Block 17, Hillside Addition, North Half Section 13, Township 50, North, Range 33 West, North Kansas City, Clay County, Missouri.
Oof.
I got lost.
Thanks for your work on this. I move that bill number 7859 be placed on second and final reading and pass as ordinance number 9656.
Second.
That was our second reading, right? Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Alvarez?
Yes.
Councilmember Clark?
Yes.
Councilmember Todd?
Yes.
Councilmember Saper?
Yes.
Councilmember McGrone?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgerald.
Yes.
An ordinance approving the final plat of North River Forest Park, a subdivision to consolidate lots 17 to 29, Block 11, lots 19 to 21, Block 12, lots 1 to 5, and lots 16 to 26, Block 16, lots 1 to 16, Block 17, Hillside Addition, North Half Section 13, Township 50 North, Range 33 West, North Kansas City, Clay County, Missouri.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Consideration of an ordinance to approve an updated and revised license agreement between the City of North Kansas City and Norfolk Southern Railway Company. Bill number 7860, ordinance number 9657.
As you may recall, a little over a year ago, you folks approved a license agreement with Norfolk Southern for them to do some work. They never signed the license agreement and never finished the work. So they decided to get back out there, and they thought they had the license agreement, and they hadn't signed it. checked with the city clerk, they had not signed it. So they said, well, we'll sign it now. And I said, no, you won't. The reason is they asked for like 3 months, and so that license agreement had expired even though they had never signed it. And so I tweaked the one that we had before, made it a little bit stronger in favor of the city, and they need to get going right away, so they signed it. I'll be glad to answer any questions. It is for railroad work that these are the kind of things that we try to work with them on because candidly, folks, we have to go and ask them for things on a moderately regular basis.
Thank you. Councilmember Smith.
So if this is a place that they need access to that seems like ongoing work, this isn't the first time they've made such a request, would there be any merit in offering that parcel for sale to the railroad with all the encumbrances and responsibilities that come with it? That's something they may be interested in?
The reason I'm laughing is we actually have had that very meeting with them. It's been a number of years ago.
Sure.
Okay? It's not something new, but they came here, they sent someone here from a regional person, we met with them, and at the end of the day, I started working with someone in, I think they're out of Atlanta now, their corporate offices, and the reason I'm laughing is the guy kept telling me they didn't have any money, and to be able to do something like that. And then it got serious because a little over a year ago, if you may recall in the news in, I think it was Ohio, that was the Norfolk Southern that had the major accident that released a lot of contaminants. In fact, the lawyer I'm dealing with them is the lawyer that's handled that. And that's why, that was one of the reasons why they never executed the other one, because he was so tied up in it. I would sure like that, and I'm not laughing because it's not a great idea. I think it's an excellent idea. I just remember the responses that they, gave me. Of course, they'd like to have it down. It removes liabilities potentially, in their rail yard.
Right.
And I think
It just
they
feels
would
like
probably like to own it even. but they
before
don't wanna
offering
take it-
them like free unfettered access under a license agreement, why not offer it for sale? And if they don't want it, the other railroad that borders it is, I assume it's Burlington Northern and Norfolk Southern border both sides. I know it's pinched and there's only the railroad to find much use for it.
The Norfolk Southern does have, I believe, a couple of tracks a little bit further north. They're not the ones right immediately north. That's what I used to think.
Sure.
But of course, the whole yard there is a Norfolk Southern yard.
Yep.
And then on the north side of the former Purina Mill property, it's my understanding that there's at least one, maybe two rails there that are Norfolk Southern also.
Okay.
And then we have the BNSF.
It seems like we may broach that topic.
I would be
Maybe.
glad to.
Okay. They can always say no, but be interested to hear what their thoughts are.
I have no problem in bringing it up again. Absolutely not.
Thank you. Councilmember Saper.
You raised the issue's been raised about whether they actually are receptive to requests that we make to them. I'd be interested to know if you've had any difficulty getting them to cooperate on issues that you have.
No, not in recent experience. I think what Mr. Barzee is referring to is just occasionally when it comes to railroad crossings and different land easements and different things, there's all kinds of ways we interact with the railroad. We're very surrounded by many railroad yards and a lot of spurs, and there's just
Are
a
they
lot of
generally
interaction.
cooperative?
I'd say they're generally cooperative, yes. It's just the duration it takes to get things done sometimes is lengthy, but
Until they don't have to be anymore.
Okay, it's a little bit of a quid pro quo in this. If we do something for them, I expect them to do something for us.
First reading?
All in favor, please say yes.
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 Any opposed, say no. Motion carries.
An ordinance repealing ordinance number 9566 and adopting and approving a license agreement by and between the City of North Kansas City, Missouri and Norfolk Southern Railway Company regarding real property generally located on the southeast side of 1400 Nottaway in the City of North Kansas City, Missouri.
I move that Bill number 7860 be placed on second and final reading and pass as ordinance number 9657.
Second.
Any further council member conversation? Nope. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Alvarez?
Yes.
Councilmember Clark?
Yes.
Councilmember Todd?
Yes.
Councilmember Saper?
Yes.
Councilmember McGrone?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgerald?
Yes.
An ordinance repealing ordinance number 9566 and adopting and approving a license agreement by and between the City of North Kansas City, Missouri and Norfolk Southern Railway Company regarding real property generally located on the southeast side of 1400 Nottoway in the City of North Kansas City, Missouri.
Boom. Number 16.
First reading. Oh, sorry, do you have to read it?
Not necessarily.
Consideration of an ordinance approving accounts due and payable by the city through June 28, 2024. Bill number 7861, ordinance number 9658.
First reading.
Second.
All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, say no. Motion carries.
An ordinance authorizing payment for certain accounts due and payable by the city through June 28, 2024.
I move that Bill number 7861 be placed on second and final reading and passes 9658.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Alvarez?
Yes.
Councilmember Clark?
Yes.
Councilmember Todd?
Yes.
Councilmember Saper?
Yes.
Councilmember McGrone?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgerald?
Yes.
An ordinance authorizing payment for certain accounts due and payable by the city through June 28, 2024.
Next item. Staff comments. What do we got?
Good evening. I'm actually going to call on Crystal for her staff comment. It was in the agenda, the MML annual conference date conflicts. Crystal?
Yeah, we will all be at the MML conference for the second meeting in September. There'll be a couple council members, the mayor, Kim, Mike, myself, the deputy city clerk. We'll all be down there, so we are looking at needing, and we won't come home until Thursday. It ends at noon. So we're just looking at when we want to reschedule that for.
Let's just cancel it. I've already been told we can't do that. I've tried a few times. Any calendaring suggestions from council? The
17th through the 19th. is-
Yeah, we'll be out. Is that right? Yeah. Well, doesn't it start on Sunday? Yeah,
Tuesday.
so 15th through 19th.
And we can't do Mondays because of court.
Correct. Court is here on Mondays.
Do they have it every Monday, though?
It's almost every Monday. I don't have my court calendar with me.
Website, is it on the website? NKC court.
Isn't courts are down right now anyway.
Yeah, which may not help the cause any. Court dates.
And then
September 11th, 18th, and 25th. 11, 18, and 25.
Those are Wednesdays.
I would also like to, I sent out a note to the governing body about the fact that Show Me Courts is down. We may need to add, if there wasn't one, we may need to look at adding one because of the statewide outage. They are going to have to take that docket and reabsorb it into their current schedule.
Yep, court 9, 16th, 23rd.
So we're looking at what, the 20th or the 24th being the most viable dates? Anybody have a strong preference of Friday or Tuesday?
Can I just say that we will be down there, so it would be hard to get the agenda out if we did it on Friday. If we do it on Tuesday, we can get the agenda out when we get back on Friday.
So Tuesday, the 24th? Pencil it in.
Yeah,
am
I think
free
that
on
sounds
the
good.
24th. Yes. I know I better go ahead and add this now before I forget. Council. Thank you.
Okay.
That is September
I would-
24th at 6 p.m.
The next item I'm going to call on Shu.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. We do have received a short-term conditional use permit application late this afternoon regarding to I know some council members are smiling, regarding to a re-roofing project that will utilize the portion of the public-owned parking lot behind the Screenland for the Screenland So that triggers the requirement for a short-term conditional use permit. As we all know, this is a process that's requiring city council approval. However, due to the limited time for staff review and the information that's not equivalent or sufficient, we have to place this one on hold. So I recommend that city council to approve this short-term conditional use permit application upon that city staff approval. So this way, we don't have to delay their remodeling and re-roofing project. And I'll give a little detail of this one. So they have applied for a short-term conditional use permit from July the 8th to July the 18th for a 10 days period of time, with the understanding that they will remove all the staged items at 6 o'clock on Friday because of due to the conflict of the short-term conditional use permit that was approved before for the movie night over the weekends, and then they will come back and reestablish the mobilization on Monday morning.
There we go, Councilmember Smith.
Yeah. No, I'm just curious, because we did talk about this a number of times, where we're at in the process of not having us approve these anymore.
So staff have drafted the changes to the ordinance. We're currently having some internal discussion from all the departments. I believe we're getting ready to place a discussion item on the agenda to talk about the drafted language here very soon.
Cool. So what do we need to say on this
Yes,
one?
what is outstanding on the permit? You said you're still waiting on something.
We're
Like, what
still
do you-
waiting for a site plan on the drawing to show where the station will be, where the access control will be. We're waiting for a general liability insurance. So that's
Okay.
what we're waiting
I-
for.
I'd say we trust staff to make the approval, and if they say no and it gets appealed, it'll come to us anyway.
There we go. Let's move this one along. You want to motion that to feel good on this? We can do a motion.
That would be wonderful.
There we go. Is there a motion to conditionally approve this short-term conditional use permit?
Move to conditionally approve a short-term conditional use permit pending staff review and approval.
Second.
All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, say no. Motion carries.
Thank you very
There we
much.
go. Thank you. All right, a lot of things tonight. What
Next
else?
one's
Yeah.
going to be Anthony.
All right. You look-
Okay.
Yep,
You know,
that's that one.
Just wanted to give a brief update. There's a lot of conversation right now about the river level and adjacent to the levees. So a lot of rain and water is being stored in the Missouri River farther up north. I think there's about 7 different dams and reservoirs on the Missouri River as you go all the way up into the Dakotas. And so they're releasing that. The last dam that gets to us is Gavin's Point, which kind of straddles South Dakota and Nebraska. The levee district and the city is monitoring this and watching it. As of last week, the gates of our levee system surrounding the city are closed, and the city is in the pumping stage. It's not a concern for flooding. It's a very low level when you look at it adjacent to the river. There's different stages of concern where we engage different elements of stop wall gaps and closing different things. This is actually very low right now, and the crest of where it'll get to about on the 4th of July is still at a very low level for us. But it is at a level where we close the gates and begin the pumping process, so any rain that falls in the city at this point is actually pumped out through the levee stations. But again, we're continuing to monitor it with the levee district. They've been communicating back and forth with us, and if there's any updates, we'll be sure to provide those.
Councilmember Smith.
And thank you to the levee district, Leon, for sending out the projections. It's wild that they can project like that. But for those, tens of you watching, no real cause for concern. The height projected to get is level 27, and just for reference, in 2019, we got to level 36 plus. And we really don't start going crazy until it hits 40. That's when we start shutting the gates on the north end of town. So no real cause for concern at this point. Thanks.
Thank you.
And then you're going to finish with me.
There we go.
I think did you? Okay. Just a quick, it's budget day. It's happy budget day. So in your packet, you do have a letter from Mike kind of talking about the proposed budget, a little bit of an overview. We did provide those who had asked for printed copies. We're happy to provide more if you missed out on your first edition of our proposed budget. Really, I do want to give a huge thanks to Nick and Allison. Nick Hawkins, our finance manager, and Allison, our intern, who kind of got thrown into the deep end, as we always do with our interns. We're firm believers that you can't really understand this position unless you know that budget inside and out. So she has had quite the introduction to the budget process. This is kind of an ongoing conversation. Think of this as a starting point for conversations to come over the next several weeks. We will probably be talking about this at your next meeting. I would like to plug our Bounce and Balance event, which is going to be Saturday, July 27th at Victoria's Place over at Parks and Recreation. That is from 9 to 11 a.m., and I swear it will be fun. I promise. Budget is fun. This is a great conversation of, kind of what our incomes to expenses, what priorities the city council has set forward, what this particular community would like to see. So if you have any questions about what you see, don't understand, please, Nick and I and Mike love talking about the budget. So please ask your questions. That goes for anybody in the community as well, to your point, your TENS. Please bring them to the Bounce and Balance. Our departments will be there. We will talk about, what our needs are, what our expenses are, what service levels look like, and, have some good conversation over the next couple of weeks of what changes you would like to see and priorities that you would like to see come through this budget document. With that, we're done.
Date and time, one more time for that one.
It is Saturday, July 27th, from 9 to 11 a.m. over at the Parks and Recreation Center over in Mackin Park. We will have snow and roast, so there will be, if it's hot, there will be ices. If it's cold, there will be coffee. There will be a bounce house. You will make your own decisions whether or not you should load your child up with ices and throw them into that. That is your decision tree.
We have insurance covered.
We will have budget games. Who doesn't love a good budget game? But more importantly, we'll be here if you perhaps or anybody has questions and maybe doesn't like talking about them in large groups. Please come and talk to us about your questions. We genuinely love talking about what we do, how we serve, and how this budget document helps us do what you would like us to do for this community.
Thank you. Done? Kevin's got a lot of time tonight. He ought to be done. No. I'm just kidding. We'll start off with Councilmember Alvarez. There we go.
Just want to remind everybody, tomorrow is the bulk pickup item for the neighborhood. And just a personal note, last night overnight, we had a couple of vehicles that were stolen in the 800 block of East 24th Avenue. So I just want to remind everybody, please keep an eye on your vehicles, make sure they're locked, keep valuables inside. And then also wish everyone a happy 4th of July, Thursday, and have a safe holiday.
Thank you, Councilmember Clark.
Nice. Yeah, to that point, I think it was Councilmember Smith that said something out that, we need reminders to kind of say, make sure at the end of the night you're locking your doors, all the doors in your home, double checking and locking your cars. Just go ahead and give it a little toot toot beep. Because, we have the same over in Ward 4. We've got people walking around just jiggling doorknobs and car doors, see if they can get in. So, budget joy, beyond that. Thank you, staff, for your ongoing work on River Forest Park, of course. And Anthony and staff, thank you for tackling the abandoned dumpster debacle. So glad that's over with. As far as Parks Liaison update, River Forest Park is chugging along. And as a reminder, the North Kansas City Parks and Rec Foundation is live at nkcparks.org. So have a look. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilmember Todd.
I feel like it was just yesterday we had Bounce and Balance. And, when I got here I was asked, do I want a paper copy? And initially I was like, no, no, no. I'm doing this online this year. But then I peeped this in Allison's hands, and how could I say no to that? It's beautiful. It's all organized. So I was like, I changed my mind. I needed it in paper. So thank you for all your work on this. I know it's a ton of work to kind of put this in an easy to digest format, and I appreciate it. And yeah, happy 4th. Hope everybody has fun. Be safe.
That is a quick turnaround on that photo. There we go. Fresh photo on the cover. Councilmember Saper.
I'm not yet sure if I appreciate what's in here, but I sure as hell appreciate the cover. This is our newest mural in the city. And it's located on the Summit Heating and Cooling, and that's located at?
1455 Iron Street.
If you haven't seen it, take a little detour and take a look at it. And I really appreciate the police taking a look at some of the ordinances and so forth that may be out of date, inappropriate, whatever, that need to be revisited. And the Equity Inclusion Committee is continuing in its project to look at all city ordinances and for equity inclusion issues, and that's an ongoing project, and we will continue to do that.
Thank you, Councilmember Graham.
All I have to say is thanks to all the city staff for all of your great work, especially on the phone book that we've been distributed. I can't wait to start reading. And y'all do a real bang up job. So thank you so much. And yeah, that's it for me.
Thank you, Councilmember Smith.
All right, 2 things from me. The first one, I sent Shu a message. She knows I'm going to mention this, but short-term rentals, I checked website name redacted last night to find a handful of single-family residences that are still listed for short-term rental for the full home, which is against our ordinance unless it's a primary residence. So I say that to say staff is trying, but they may need your help to let them know if there's one operating in your block that is not following the rules. We set the rules in place for a reason, and I would like to see them followed and enforced. Beyond that, theft. So Linda mentioned and Amy followed up, but I was also a target of theft, and I've hosted target hardening events. It is easy to become a target whether you mean to or not. And a lot of my tools were stolen. I do want to give a huge shout out to the North Kansas City Police Department, who were able to quickly track down a truck and recover some of my tools, which is wonderful. Some remain missing. But don't let yourself be targeted, and keep an eye on your neighbors as well. It was really a tip from the neighbors that helped track that truck down. So keep your eyes out. And with that, if your car is unlocked, particularly, this is another thing, a takeaway from my gun violence prevention meeting. A lot of the times thieves are out there looking for firearms in vehicles. So if you are a person who carries a firearm and keeps it in your vehicle, make triple sure those doors are locked, particularly if you have a certain set of bumper stickers or emblems on your vehicle that just shout, "I have a gun in my truck." Yeah, keep your doors locked, please.
Thank you. Councilman Fitzgerald.
I'll echo those comments on the short-term rentals. I believe we passed that in July 2023, so we're now a year into that. So the more, sooner we can get caught up and get those fully regulated to the intent of the ordinance would be ideal. And I'm always excited to see the budget book every year, so I like looking at numbers, gives me something to do. So thank you to city staff and Nick especially that getting this ready to go.
Perfect, thank you. With that leaves me. Stopped by the Gardens the other day for their 4th of July performance, and it was a fantastic performance. So glad I was able to make that. On top of that, hope everyone has a good 4th of July week and holiday coming up. And outside of that, the Balance and Balance is a great way to engage with the community, a great way to engage with the budget and see what we're spending all the money on. So there you go. Come out and chat and learn and balance and balance. There we go. With that, number 20. We only have one.
Consideration of a request to hold and recess into an executive session as requested by the mayor to be held on this date on a personnel matter pursuant to Missouri Revised Statute, Section 610.0213.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Roll, call the roll, please. Call the roll, please. Tom
Counsel-
wasn't going to let me. I got to try every once in a while.
Councilmember Alvarez.
Yes.
Councilmember Clark.
Yes.
Councilmember Todd.
Yes.
Councilmember Saper.
Yes.
Councilmember McGrone.
Yes.
Councilmember Smith.
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgerald.
Yes.
With that, the live stream will be cutting off and the YouTube channel will be cutting off. No further public business or discussions will happen this evening. Thank you.